You two have always been remarkable to me because you did get divorced, yet you continue to live together, separate wings of the house, but...
Yeah, lucky it's quite a bit.
When people discuss the breakup of the marriage between the former Duke and Duchess of York, the focus often turns to scandal, the toe-sucking photos, wild tabloids, and the feeling that events spiraled beyond control. Yet according to Sarah Ferguson's mother, the true cause had nothing to do with pictures or media pressure. She believed the failure came from something much more basic. She said Prince Andrew lacked character. That view shared many years later and highlighted again in Andrew Lowe's book lands with greater weight when you pause and think about it. The wording is not dramatic. It is not decorative, and for its time it was not meant to shock. In some ways it is harsher than that. It sounds plain, direct, and painfully personal. Because it came from her own mother, Susan Barrantes, it pushes us to look at the marriage from the inside rather than judging it from the outside. To see why her words carry such impact, you have to return to the start. When Andrew and Sarah married in July 1986, the mood was full of hope. The ceremony was held at Westminster Abbey, and close to 500 million people around the world watched.
And out into the sunshine they stepped to face those crowds for the first time as the Duke and Duchess of York, with the enthusiastic and ever-hopeful chanting of "Kiss the Bride."
Britain was still enjoying strong public support for Andrew after the Falklands War. He was young, self-assured, and viewed as a real benefit to the monarchy. Sarah, with her laughter, her openness, and her refusal to act like a fragile display figure, felt familiar to many women watching from home. For a short time it seemed the royal family had gained something; it badly needed warmth. Yet the everyday reality of marriage quickly set in. Andrew remained an active naval officer. His duties kept him away for long periods, sometimes lasting months. While this was praised in public as honorable service, in private, it meant the marriage rarely worked as a true partnership. Sarah was mostly left on her own to handle royal duties, public pressure, and raising children. Susan Barrantes witnessed this closely. She was not distant. She saw her daughter's loneliness, her emotional strain, and the unequal nature of the relationship. When she later spoke to the Italian magazine Gente, she did not reject Andrew's charm. She described him as attractive, generous, and someone willing to give his last money to help others. Then she made her strongest statement. She said he had no character at all. This was not only about affairs. It was about reliability, emotional strength, and being present when life becomes hard instead of only during easy moments. By the early 1990s, the strain was clear. Both Andrew and Sarah had relationships outside the marriage. According to Lowe, this behavior caused so much instability that senior royals felt forced to intervene. Andrew was reportedly called in for a serious talk close to an intervention. One detail from Untold stands out for its shocking simplicity. Lowe writes that Sarah invited one of her lovers to Andrew's 30th birthday celebration. This detail is not shared just for drama. It shows how disordered the marriage had become and how little respect or structure was left. In March 1992, Andrew and Sarah officially announced their separation.
The children are well, I'm well, Duke's well, everybody's well, and we're just getting on with it. It's entirely and utterly a personal thing between the Duke and I. And nobody else.
At that point, Princess Beatrice was 8 years old and Princess Eugenie was 6. This was not a silent breakup hidden from the public eye. It unfolded during a period of heavy media attention and constant press focus.
This is finally complete, stripped of everything, from his titles to his home. It is a remarkable and radical royal downfall.
And it caused a sudden and harsh change in how Sarah was treated. Almost overnight, she moved from being one of the most liked figures in the royal family to one of the most criticized. Public opinion polls showed this shift very clearly. Andrew Lowe notes that during this time there were deliberate leaks meant to damage Sarah's reputation. Susan Barrantes strongly believed that blame was being pushed onto her daughter to shield the institution itself. However, these leaks were not invented. Much of what was said was based on Sarah's own actions, which were clearly troubling. She cannot be described as completely innocent in the situation, but one of the most painful issues was custody. Barrantes was determined that Sarah would not lose her daughters. This is where the story becomes uncomfortable because Barrantes herself had once left her own young family to move to Argentina with another man. Critics quickly highlighted this contradiction, but from Barrantes' point of view, this was about making sure Sarah was not discarded by a system that had already turned against her. Years later, Sarah would present a far more refined explanation for the divorce.
I hope it's true. You bought a Swiss chalet. Is that true?
Well, we've got a good mortgage.
In a 2007 interview with Harper's Bazaar, she said she wanted to work and believed it was not suitable for a princess of the royal household to be commercial. She presented the divorce as a shared practical choice that allowed her to earn her own income. That explanation has long caused doubt, not because it is untrue, but because it does not tell the full story. Wanting a career does not lead to emotional collapse affairs or involvement from the institution. It explains what came after, not what caused the split. Susan Barrantes' remarks provide that missing emotional layer. She was not speaking about jobs or rules. She was speaking about character within a marriage and the ability to stay steady when a relationship becomes routine, demanding, or lacking excitement. What adds another layer is what followed the divorce. Although they officially separated in 1996, Andrew and Sarah stayed unusually close. By 2008, they were living together again at Royal Lodge, though in separate sections. Over the years, they have often described themselves as the happiest divorced couple. They appear together at family occasions, show unity in public, and speak kindly about each other in interviews.
And we are always going to be together. And, we just have a very strong belief about compromise, communication, and compassion.
Their daughters have supported that picture. Princess Beatrice, speaking on the Lessons from Our Mothers podcast, described Sarah as someone who always found a way to bring joy into hard moments. She talked about adventure, strength, and the courage to step forward even when life was difficult. Beatrice looked back on the divorce years without resentment. She described a childhood full of motion, curiosity, and emotional honesty. She spoke often about her mother, but Prince Andrew's role, by contrast, feels quieter in these memories. He was present but not grounding, involved but not consistent. This leads back to Susan Barrantes and her direct judgment. When she said Andrew lacked character, she was not calling him cruel or dangerous. Those accusations would come much later. She was pointing to something missing, an inability to keep things steady when pressure increased. Now, as the former Duke and Duchess of York prepare to leave Royal Lodge in 2026, those earlier observations feel relevant again. Years have passed. Status has changed. Public images have shifted greatly, yet the core patterns that shaped their marriage still feel familiar to anyone who has followed their story closely. So, here is the question. Was Susan Barrantes right from the start? Was this marriage undone not by scandal but by Andrew's lack of character? Or were both responsible? Did Sarah's affairs and money troubles combined with Andrew's behavior and weak character simply create a failed pairing? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep looks into the real stories behind royal headlines, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next.